Thank you all for coming here so early. Some of you know me. I'm not a particularly strong morning person. I'm also not an evening person. I like to go to bed early and get up late. So this is kind of strange for me, but I'm going to do the best I can. My job really is to introduce Tamara and answer some questions. And I met Tamara through the Entrepreneurs Organization. Are there any EO members in the room or YPO members? YPO? Yep, fair enough. About 5 years ago, and she was working with one of her companies, and she was doing a bunch of things with social media. And if you Google my name, because I got a weird last name, you'll find out that I'm the Google guru, and I spent a lot of time with Google. I knew Kate, who opened the first Google office here in Sydney 10, 12 years ago on her desk. So I spent a lot of time with Google, and I thought basically what she was doing with social media was a bunch of fluff. So as EOers do, she built a beautiful company, and she had 200,000 followers, and business was going great, and she had some challenges with her Google AdWords, and so she rang me up, as EO members do, and said, "Can you help me?" And I said, "Of course I can." Again, as I said, I thought that most of what she was doing was probably a lot of fluff with all this social media and kind of tree-hugging, build community stuff, and I'm an algorithm guy. I'm all about mathematics and numbers. So I really didn't pay a lot of attention to it, except I had a problem. And the problem is that I'm an evidence-based individual, so everything was tied into Google Analytics. And so I could see what was going on between what I was doing and what she was doing. And the problem was her cost of acquisition was half of what mine was. And so it was costing, what, $50-odd, $40-odd to acquire a client. I was double that. So, oh damn, I had a problem here. But having said that, I can scale really quickly with Google AdWords. I can just, if I have a budget of 10,000, I can go to 20,000 and get twice as many clicks. Social media takes you a little bit longer to scale from 200,000 to 400,000. So I got to appreciate what Tamara was doing in a very big way, and mea culpa, I had to apologize for the fact that it wasn't all fluff. It actually had value. But I still wasn't happy. I'm an evidence-based guy, so I went back to the patents that Google had because I said, this doesn't make any sense. I'm bidding on branded terms, and my cost, I've got hundreds of clients, my cost of her work is half what it is for all my other clients. How did this work out? I couldn't understand this. And then she was expanding the business down the east coast of Australia as well, and I was doing search engine optimization, again, manipulating Google's algorithms. And it normally takes me 2 to 3 months to get traction, and I was getting traction in 2 to 3 weeks. What the hell's going on here? And so it took me a while to go through and look at Google and how they were taking their signals and what they used to call link building, which is now citations and content creation. And I got to analyzing what she was doing, and I thought, this lady is manipulating Google's AI and machine learning algorithm. And she is. She's doing it very effectively. And I thought, well, I got to be able to do more of this sort of stuff. So that's exactly what we did. It was a combination of analyzing their patents and their applications and seeing how Google works and its interface with social media. There's only 2 companies that scare Google in the world. Facebook, because we spend so much time on it, and Amazon, because everybody goes there to buy stuff. Right? And it's the Facebook element, it's the social element that she was manipulating and hypnotizing Google's algorithm and machine learning. And that's what she's here to explain to you today. So without further ado, let me introduce Tamara Loehr.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not a morning person either, but I've had a coffee, so that's always good. So welcome. We did this in Brisbane a couple of months ago, and I've had some feedback that quite a few people have implemented some stuff into their businesses already. So the whole intention of today is for you guys to not get motivated and then go do nothing. I actually want you to see how simple it is for you to go back and start these steps in your business, because I like to keep it really simple, so I've made it a very simple process with Monte. So for those of you who don't know me in the room, I can see a few familiar fellow YPOers in the room. But for those who don't know me, I might just quickly give you a little bit of background on myself. Yes, that's a brain. Monte, you're on the left, I'm on the right. So together we are whole. I'm very much a creative, so grew up, drawing, writing songs, doing all that sort of stuff. And I guess 20 plus years in business, I've trained the other side. So I like the 2 C's, creativity and commercialization, how do we make money out of that sort of stuff. So had a marketing agency for over 20 years now and turned investor about 5 years ago. So I was very blessed to spend 20 years with some of the biggest brands in Australia and globally and work on their social media. Our agency actually specialised in social media, and you know, at that stage it was perfect timing. It wasn't anywhere near the click cost that it is now, and I would help build their brands. And in some cases, M&A houses would actually approach me and say, "We want to sell this business. It's not a fire sale. We're planning for that. How long do you need? 6 to 12 months to get this ready so that we can get a higher multiple." And what they mean by that is when people look at things, perception is about 90% of their reality, which is pretty shocking. We're a vain bunch, right? But if a brand is seen to be everywhere and there's a great story behind that, it's actually a lot easier to sell. So M&A houses were coming to me and saying, "Okay, I've got this mining company. Nobody knows about them. They've never done anything on social," and I would make sure that I would help tell that story and they would always get a better exit. So that got me thinking, why don't I start investing in some things myself? So I became an investor 5 years ago. A little bit of a different model. I take sweat equity. Has anyone heard of that term? So basically you're exchanging your services and your expertise in exchange for equity. And what I found was a lot of people were coming to me and giving me equity when they were in a bit of a crisis. So that didn't seem very ethical. So what I ended up doing was a bit of a no-win, no-fee. So we would establish what we felt the business was worth, the potential worth as well. And then we'd put a sum on that. And if I didn't meet those targets, they would get their equity back and 6 to 12 months worth of free marketing that my agency would do for them. So through that process, I have managed to build a few brands, and I'll share some of those experiences today. I'm not here to give advice in true EO style. It's all about experience sharing, and then hopefully from that you guys can take some things away for your own businesses. Does that sound like a good plan? Great. All right. So what I'm up to at the moment, I have a mentor called Jeff Hoffman. Look him up. He's an amazing human being. Out of America. One of his businesses is worth $70 billion. Like, that's not even comprehensible in this country. But he has a seat at the UN, and what he believes is that entrepreneurs will change the world, not governments. And so I'm working with him on what we call my 7-year itch. Serial entrepreneurs, every 7 years, they seem to reinvent themselves. So my next phase is in wellness. I'm very passionate about the wellness sector, in particular the trends in that. We've all been to the shop and bought 3 protein balls for like $4 or something stupid. That health food section in Coles and Woolies is just getting bigger and bigger. And in America, you've got your Whole Foods and those sorts of things. So that's my focus at the moment, but I'm very passionate about small business, in particular Australian businesses. We're very innovative, we're very hardworking, and I'm basically taking those businesses to America. So I'll share a couple of those examples, but my legacy project is obviously to have buy one, give one in all of those. So it's giving to charity as a cost of goods as opposed to when you're profitable, which is how I think we're going to change. So Paul Dunn heads up buy one, give one, and my huge BHAG is to impact 50 million lives a year. So let's see how I go. That means I need 50 million worth of revenue, so 100 mil. So that's kind of my plan. So my intention for you today is I'm going to show you how I literally spend 2 hours a month on my social media. So all of you are probably sitting here going, okay, there's so many channels, it takes so much time to do all of this, I don't have the time, and by default then you don't do it, which is the worst thing you can do. So I'm going to show you how I spend basically 2 hours, which I actually delegate the 2 hours as well, to get about 200 distribution of the content per quarter. And sometimes I'll do that monthly as opposed to quarterly, depending on where the business is at and how much I need to drive. So the reason we want to do that is because organic rankings need to be your focus. I am very petrified for small businesses and the cost of clicks at the moment, so I want to show you how to win organically, and that's the stuff that Monte was saying was apparently fluff. But
I apologise.
So why should we care? Well, these are a few interesting stats that I find. 75% of people are actually going to look your business up before they either shop or pick up the phone. So if you don't have a presence, then you're missing out on 75%. I mean, how many of us actually pick up the phone and bother with that stuff anymore? It's really interesting. When the investors went through one of my businesses, they were petrified. They were like, the phones aren't ringing, what's going on? I'm like, go online. We're having like 400 chats per hour with potential customers. So it's really important that you guys are showing up. Now, one of your favourite sayings is they bury dead bodies or hide dead bodies on page 2 of Google. And I tend to agree. This is all about how do we rank on page 1, which is really important. And then what's interesting as well, and a bit of homework, is does everybody know what their Google rating is in the room? Review rate? Anyone? Okay, that should be one of your magic numbers that you track. I was talking to the guys here this morning about the importance of that. So you've got 2 types of reviews. You've got your Google review and you've got your Facebook reviews. You can turn off your Facebook reviews, but your Google reviews are out there, never to be taken down. Product review is another one if you've got a product-based business. And it's right at the top when people look at you. So work on that one because that's really important. To the point where I actually set KPIs for my team around that. I'll pay $50 for a good review to a staff member because it's that important. Because so almost half of people rely on those reviews as to whether they will even proceed further with you, which is pretty scary. I mean, we've all done it before as well, right? So it's very important. So down the bottom here, can I get a bit of an idea of who's in the room? Who is B2B? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, and B2C? Great. So these are the stats that are really important. We'll circulate the slides too, sweetheart, if you like. So even though I think over the last 10 years a lot has changed in Google social online land, what I found is really consistent is human behaviour. What do you know? And the organic is still rating around the same click-through rate as what it used to be. So if you're a B2B, 57% of people click on the organic. So do we all understand that paid is the ones at the top that have the little ad icon next to it? And then underneath that is all the organic on page 1. And I feel like it's getting to about half and half now of half paid, half organic. So that organic section is shrinking. But what's really interesting is that 57% of people are still preferring to click on the organic. So you really need to focus on organic. That's one reason. Now the prospect click, that's your Google advertising in the orange, and the green is your social media paid advertising. Does anyone spend any money on Facebook and Instagram? Great, so that's that, which is skyrocketing in price at the moment. So, and now B2C, a little bit different. People usually, because if it's a product, they're shopping for it, they don't mind clicking on an ad, so you'll see the organic is a little bit lower. So a little game I like to play over wine is I like to rank myself versus the averages, because really you want to have the same sort of pie. You want to have all of those parts working for you so that you can maximise the amount of clicks that you get and the amount of leads. So on the right is actually my ranking of how I'm doing, so across my businesses. So I'm ranking higher for organic because I'm product, B2C, which is great because that's not costing me anything. And I'm on par with the other two, which is good. So I tend to always review that and see how I'm tracking against the averages and the behaviours and the click-throughs. Does that make sense? Right, so this is probably the ugliest slide out of all of them, and it's not meant to scare you, but it is the reality. So when small business was surveyed recently, about the next year's budget when it comes to social media spend and online spend, this is how much they're going to increase their budgets by. So your competitors are increasing Facebook, wouldn't you love to own that company, by 71% in the coming 12 months, which is scary. And they're the main channels, but you can see that in general, they're doubling their budget. And on the right is how much your clicks they're anticipating are going to go up. So your impressions are going to go from $4 to $11. I mean, who can afford that for a click? And your cost per click is going to double as well. So if you've set your marketing budget, your online budget, to the same as last year, you're not going to get the same outcomes. That's just, you need to double it just to maintain your leads, which is quite scary. So this is why we need to work on organic. Does that make sense? Because your organic is separate to this. All right, so I'm not a gambler. I go to the cup, but it's more about the alcohol and the hats. But we call it the trifecta, don't we, Monte? It's all about the three things. And unfortunately, in small business, I'd love to be able to say, just do one thing, but you can't. You actually need to be able to do all three areas. So it's a healthy mix of your paid, your owned media, which is your own channels, and then by default, you end up with your earned. So we need to get the three working, and in the middle is what I call the sweet spot. So that's where Monte was saying, how did you do the teasing, or how did you trick the GA? I didn't. I do the three things and I land in the middle. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're active in all three areas. But today, what I'm going to be focusing on is the owned and the earned. So in the paid, this is things like your Google AdWords. Monte does that stuff for me. He's great at it because it's actually just about algorithms and getting the words right and testing it and looking at the numbers, all that left side of the brain stuff I'm not interested in. So I delegate that to him, and I focus on the content that is produced to rank higher in organic. So I thought this might be a better way of showing it to everybody, because we all know the old sales funnel, right? Nothing has actually changed. Online's exactly the same thing. What we're trying to do is fill the funnel with as many leads as possible, right? So these are the expensive ones. These are the ones you have to spend money on. And I still justify that they're good. They're just expensive. So they cost you money. So the ones in the italics are the face-to-face stuff that we all do. A lot of people do that. That's the most expensive. Do you have any idea why? Yep, it's people. And it's one-on-one as opposed to one on 10,000. So, and salaries, we've all got businesses, we check our P&L, it's up there as one of the highest expense in our business. So that's the most expensive. So I'm not saying don't do those, but I would definitely look at ways to maximising it to ensure you get the outcomes that you need. The other ones are things like paying influencers. If you've got products, that is something that is part of our world. Social media ads, which is your Facebook, your Instagram. PR, we've got PDPR here today. You guys do our stuff. And that's very much on based on, getting out in the media, and that also drives a lot of the organic because you're on other sites. Your SMS, does anyone do SMS campaigns in here? No? I love SMS. It's really great, but this is based on your own database, but it's really great, a tool for when you want to drive last-minute things like prompters, order tomorrow, orders closed tonight, special offer, 24 hours, all that sort of stuff. And SMS messaging is actually another one that needs to be added to this, is the ads inside your message, your Facebook messaging, which is becoming really huge. SEO, which is AdWords as well, so Monte takes care of that for us. So those are the things that are going to pay. Your paid things. These are the exciting things. These are the free things. These are the organic bits that I'm going to be talking to you about today. So podcasts, videos, all that sort of stuff. Does everyone understand the importance of why videos are so relevant now? We all get that videos are the new thing and that we actually get penalised if it's a still on social. So basically, Facebook's trying to turn into YouTube, and they will rank you higher if you use video content. So it's a lot of people now are hiring marketing grads to generate videos for them and do that sort of in-house work. I have a video team in my businesses now because I know the importance of it. And you do all my videos basically, so which is great. So videos are crucial. And just remember it's out there forever, so try not to do too many selfies. Try and make them professional. I've seen some horrible ones out there at the moment. It's like everyone's jumping on video. I'm like, I get that it's really important, but can we please have some parameters around professionalism? So blogs, all that sort of stuff. So we want to feed the funnel and make sure that all of those things are going in to drive your leads. So the only thing you need to focus on, which is really interesting because people jump straight to a hard sell, all that content that you're producing has to be 90% value add and 10% suggestive sale. So it's crude, but think of it like dating, sex, marriage. If you go out on a date, you're not going to ask them to get married. You may suggest the middle one, 10%, but don't ask them to get married. So it's really important that all that content, all that I tell my staff to do and my teams to do is just produce content that's 90% value add. So what does that mean? Pain points, how am I solving the problem of the client? What are the things that they're searching on that we can provide answers for online? All those sorts of things. So this is basically what I call it. It's called the EAT strategy, experts, authority and trusted. So how do you position your business as being the experts, the authority or the innovators or the industry leaders, and trusted? So those reviews are part of the trusted part, which is really important. And the content that you produce needs to be narrow in topic and deep in scope. This is so important. And maybe we can do a quick example. So who wants to be a volunteer? Would you mind?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Cool. So what's your business?
Hamrock Pet Hotels, a pet boarding.
Pardon?
I work at Hamrock Pet Hotels.
Pet hotels.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right, so pet hotels.
Yeah.
And how long have you been around?
34 years.
Wow. And how many hotels do you have?
6.
6. Okay, so an example of one that is not following the EAT strategy would be, hi, we're such and such pet hotels. We've been around for 34 years. It's a long time. And we've got 6 locations. They're here, here, and here. It's very broad. So Google doesn't know how to index that. But how many sites have you been to where they go, welcome to H&T, we've been here since 12, and we do the following services and we have a team of this many. So many people start their websites with that rundown of themselves, right? Is that adding value to the customer at all? Is that talking about us? Yeah. So what's really important is to make sure that the content that you produce is really deep. So an example of that might be, if for indexing, it might be the difference between a hotel and a kennel. Yeah. Like very specific, right? How long is too long to put your pets in a kennel? A trusted person in this area that specialises in pet hotels. What goes on in a pet hotel? What food is served at pet hotels? And they're all individual bite-sized pieces. And then what's really great is Google can go, right, food, if someone Googles pet hotels food or pet kennels or, food, they'll come across your content because Google knows how to index that. And you'd be surprised what people actually search. They usually put in a few things, which are what they're looking for and then their pain point. It's very random. We all do it, right? Yeah. Kid's birthday party, last minute. That's usually me. Last minute, boy, 8. So, because I need it now, right? So you put in your pain points after the thing that you're looking for. So if you get really specific on topics and you just talk about that, does that make sense? We're all across that? Great, because you got work to do. You did see that the invite was workshop, right? So you got something you got to do in a minute. So all the content needs to be leveraged off your internal staff. Please do not hire a marketing person and make them produce all your content. She's out of grad school, for starters, no life experience, doesn't know your business, and cannot write about you guys. Who are the best people to write about you? The people that you pay $150K a year because you wanted that expert in your team. Those expensive staff members that you've got sitting there are experts in something. If you're from an accounting firm, you might be specialised in, self-managed super funds. You might be the specialist when it comes to tax, minimising tax, and you might be an expert in property and portfolios or whatever it is. So, or business. So it's really important. It's really important that you leverage those experts because they're actually your content makers. You don't need somebody to come in and write about you guys. You've got it internally. So Monte always says that he has a face for radio, so he will not let me stick him in front of video. But you'll find that if you have millennials that work for you, they're so okay with it. And if someone isn't, then you can interview them on a podcast. It's the same thing. And pick topics that they could, the rule is, pick topics they could talk about in their sleep underwater. And we all know that we have something that we're passionate about, that we studied for years, that we could talk about. So that's really important. And they're going to do 90% value add, 10% suggestive sales. So in your case, it might be, you know, this is the sort of food that is generally served. We serve this for these reasons, though. And then you could say the 10% suggestive might be, here's a sample of our menu, because you're kind of suggesting us. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, great. So now you've got some homework. So, Monte, you've done something different this time, haven't you? You've put it on our Facebook page, is that right? Yeah. Yep.
You know how everybody always tells you when you come to these seminars to turn your phone off? Turn your phone on. And if you go to Facebook and you look up Content2Convert, I've created an online survey, and because I wear a belt and suspenders, I also have hard copies for those of you who can't get to Facebook. But if you put in Facebook on Content2Convert, you'll see a post up there for a content strategy survey where you can go online and fill out the information that, like I said, we've got hard copies.
So your team are probably still in bed, and we're going to voluntold them.
It's 2 pages.
This is the exercise. We're going to figure out who inside the business we can use as experts. If you don't have any experts that you can think of the top of your head, I think it's time to call a HR person, because you should all have experts in your business, right? So this exercise, what we're going to do is we are going to identify, and I want you to take away some experts inside your company that we can use for content creation on a specific topic. So the form, this one here, this one here we're working on. So on the right, you're going to list 5 internal experts inside your business, assuming you have 5 staff, but the other thing is it could be 5 external people as well. So I have reps in LA that could talk for an hour on the hierarchy of why you go in Nordstrom but can't be in TJ Maxx at the same time. Now, he's a rep, but I could certainly solicit him for some content. The other thing is some of your experts are actually some of your clients, or your suppliers, or your partners. All right, so I'm going to keep picking on you, I'm sorry. Do you want to share some examples?
Yeah, so we've got dog trainers.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we can interview. Our pet welfare staff.
Great.
Maybe the vets that we use for their check-in, so we pick up and drop off from local vets.
Great.
Our pet taxi drivers.
Pet taxi drivers,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and maybe our reception team as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so receptionists are great because they get the questions.
Yeah.
They're the ones who get, that's actually a really great place to start on the next bit, which is the topics.
Yeah.
So the topics are what are they going to talk about? And most of the time, I take my topics from social media. It's things that the questions that clients and potential customers have asked. And the problem is we've been in our business for so long that it's second nature, but common sense isn't so common. And the things that we think are obvious are often the questions that we get asked the most. So I tend to audit my social media and look for topics inside that are a common theme, because then I can address those, because it's not what we want to talk about, it's actually what they are interested to hear about. And I'm guessing if you're looking at a pet hotel, you're not doing it during 9 to 5. It's when you're booking your hotel at night and sitting there and you guys aren't answering the phone. So if I can get all my needs addressed through the objections and if I can meet some of these people and see them and see how caring and animal lovers that they are, that versus somebody who paid for an ad that's up the top that they have no idea who they are and all they've got is a map and a location. It's not the same thing, right? So that was the great thing about one of my businesses is everyone else had TV ads on at night. And at night, while they were doing TV ads, that was great. People were going, awesome, I think I want to order food, but they were closed. But my people were online till midnight in Manila having conversations with all of them saying, hi, what's your health and fitness goals? And starting these conversations. And we would convert them before they get up the next morning at 9 o'clock to call the competitors. Does that make sense? Because all those videos were there, you could see that. It was easy to work through the objections and convert online. And most of us nowadays, how many people pick up the phone to actually order stuff nowadays? I mean, I rarely have a conversation. Everything I do is online, my own DD process, and it's all based on perception. So does everyone have 5 people that they think they could interview? Well, that's about 6 months worth of content, right? And I'm going to show you how that works. So I promised you in 2 hours I'd show you how I do this. So, Monte, do you mind role-playing with me a little bit?
Sure.
Cool. All right. So once a quarter, you give me a call. Well, it's once a month because I have so many businesses, so we do one a month. So I get a call from C2C, and what do you ask me for, Monte?
A calendar invite to schedule your time to either get video shot, like our friend in the back here, or I do a phone interview if you have a face like mine that's built for radio.
Great. So basically, he rings me. It's actually, I've got some examples here because I have to brief you on the next one. So I'm just going to brief him in front of you. Is that all right? So this month is Gutsy, which is our gut health functional snacks. And Monte basically says, right, Tamara, who are your 2 experts for the month? Which is, we're going to make it...
Janine and Emily?
Yep. And what are 4 topics that I'm going to interview them on? So Janine is going to do prebiotics versus probiotics. What's the difference? What is bad for your gut? Like coffee, all that sort of stuff. Things to avoid. Why is the gut called the second brain? Because of functionality and performance for the brain. Stevia versus inulin as a sugar replacement. And then Emily is going to do how to reduce gut bloating. Actually, one of the most popular, people don't care about women. Often search, how do I reduce bloating in my gut? As opposed to, how do I have a healthy gut so I don't die of cancer? We're more interested in the bloating factor, and I saw that was coming up a lot in feeds, so we're going to do a video on how to reduce bloating in your gut, which actually has a lot to do with gut health. 5 signs that you may have a gut health problem. Look out, Google doctor. Morning rituals that focus on getting your gut ready for the day, and diabetic checklist when selecting gut healthy snacks. So talking about things like sugar levels and all that sort of stuff, and that's 10% suggestive sale because our chocolate is 0 sugar, 0 carbs. So we will suggest that as one of the gut health snacks. So there you go, Monte. Now, that's basically all you need from me, right? What are you doing next?
Well, scheduling out the interviews to be done, and PDPR, you've got somebody who's over going to Vanuatu, don't you, for a family resort. Now, they've gone and produced 5-star quality already for magazine, print, television, Channel 7, 9, 10, whoever it is. I was talking with one of their staff that's going over there to say, I want very narrow topics. I don't know enough about the pet world to talk on your topic, but I do know about resorts. So it was scuba diving, just the video on scuba diving, because I'm going to go and search on scuba diving. Partner might be sitting there and saying, hey, what's the story on Kids Club? So very narrow topic on Kids Club. I happen to be a foodie, so somebody else is going to say, well, what are the eating opportunities? Somebody else might be interested in culture and history, so they'll do a very narrow slice. And when we talk about a narrow slice, we're talking 3 to 7 minutes. But on a very focused area, as Tamara said, because we want Google to index scuba diving Vanuatu, kids care Vanuatu, food options or dining out Vanuatu, cultural Vanuatu. Each one of those is a segment. Does that make sense to people? Because it's answering what Tamara is saying. It's answering the person that's searching for the answer to that question. They're not, it's a wonderful family resort. I love their website, and it's great. It covers everything. But the questions that people ask tend to be narrow. And that's what I can get in Google to index, the narrow conversation. So that's what I learned from Tamara. So then I just set up the interviews with the people. Those that are, this is one area where we do have a slight discussion argument.
Over wine, usually.
Beauty and the Beast. The camera does not look well on my face. So I tend to do interviews with a lot of people just on the telephone, because if you stick a camera in their face, they freeze. And then I take that audio and I simulate a video. I use their one Photoshop picture they have of themselves that looks good. I use their corporate logo, which looks good, and then we just stick some slides behind it, and we put text up on the screen when the questions are asked, in lieu of actually seeing somebody who goes and freezes. So this girl can talk under wet cement, but his camera looks very nicely on her, but not me.
Well, luckily, in beauty, you don't have a choice. I have beauty businesses, so nobody watches a podcast, listens to a podcast when it comes to how to apply certain makeup or whatever. So obviously that's the industry that we're in too. So you've got to keep that in mind. I think for someone like yourself, where it's such a personal thing, especially services-based businesses as well, I want to see who it is that I'm working with at the accounting firm. I want to hear how genuine they are, because people can pick up on things really quickly. They can sense if you're good at what you do really quickly, and they'll sense if I can work with you. Which if I saw a video of you, John, I'd be like, absolutely. You know, sold. Good guy, integrity, knows what he's talking about. I'm going to pick up the phone or send an email. It's really hard to get people to do that nowadays, so you have to do this pretend, dating stuff at the start. But you do it online, which is really interesting. So basically, he rings me, asks me for the topics. He books in with Emily and Janine, and he does 1 hour shooting back-to-back of both of them. They literally take no longer than 15 minutes. We usually get it in the first take because it's a conversation. I cannot stand videos where people are reading. It's horrible. Does that make you feel really awkward? I can't even watch them. So the 4 videos are done, and then what Monte does at C2C is he turns those into podcasts, because we've got the audio. Then he gives them to, there's lots of journalists at the moment who are looking for work, he gives it to qualified journalists with 20 years experience to listen to the videos and turn them into articles, which can be your blogs. So those 2 hours of time, that's how much content you get from that. Then basically, he has access to every one of my channels, and he sets up all the channels that I don't have. Unfortunately, you need to be across everything. You need to be on every channel. And he strategically places them and distributes them throughout that month and throughout that quarter in a way that Google doesn't think it's spam. So we've all seen programs where you've got Hootsuite and you can put it all in and go poof and just dump it all at once or schedule it out. Google actually knows that. So they're looking for what they think is genuine content and ongoing giving and value. So they will rank you higher. So I don't know how you do that bit, but it's fantastic because he distributes it. I don't have to do it, which is great. Please don't waste your marketing manager's time by making them distribute your content. It's such a medial task. They should be supporting you on sales activities, how to drive and support your team, the online content, the design of stuff, because it is a beast. If you're doing Facebook ads, impression fatigue is every 6 to 8 weeks. So every 6 to 8 weeks, I'm having to change what my Facebook ads look like. And I've got 20 things that I'm searching on, that I'm targeting. So that's 20 lots of ads, which are now 20 lots of bloody video. It's exhausting. So let them focus on that stuff and then outsource what I call the admin tasks. It's a bit like bookkeeping. We've offshored a lot of the recking, the rec of our statements, and then our accountant does the end piece. This is very similar. You outsource that, so you do that stuff.
Tamara's marketing manager manages me and my team. Her job is to make sure that the schedules and the information is correct. And that's what I do then. Can I segue just for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
One thing about this, again, here we go, switch your brains over to the analytic side, not the creative side. The reason we do this is for those that are old and gray in the room, it's neurolinguistic programming. I want the content to be in 3 formats. I want print content for those people that like to read. I want video content for those people that watch and learn through watching video. And I want audio content for those that are podcasters, right? And so I need to create the content once, but create 3 formats for the different learning styles, right? Netflix has got us time-shifting video, so we do that all the time. Now the podcasts are coming out. Everybody's, commuting to and from work with their white headphones in, listening to podcasts. And other people that are old like me are watching and reading stuff on our Kindle. So I need to have the 3 formats, and Google appreciates that as well. It's not duplicate content because it's in different formats, strategies, MP3, MP4, and Word, PDF, whatever. So it's very important to be able to have that content in 3 formats because I don't know the learning style in these channels that people are going to want.
Perfect. See why you're using. It's handy. All right, so I just want to point out, this one here is you. So that's that Facebook generation of content. So what I do is when those videos are done, I send to my graphic designer those videos. And from those interviews, there's some really great quotes and stats that come out of it that we can actually grab, and then they'll do them up really pretty, or they'll take a section of the article, just one section, and they'll get a relevant image and put it with it and make that one of our posts. Okay, so she gets sent these 4, which is 8 really, because you've done 4 with Emily and 4 with Janine, and then she basically uses that to help her. It's her brief for the content. So I didn't even have to brief my marketing manager on stuff, which is great. And what's really good is that we've got the same consistent message across all our social media. So that is you. This is C2C for me. This is C2C here, this middle bit. That is putting that content on, like the article, putting that on your blog, on your website, all that sort of stuff. If you have a blog and it hasn't been updated in the last 2 months, please take it down. It's very embarrassing. So have you ever seen that where people, latest news, 2014? It's pretty bad. I'm like, well, I hope you don't apply that same principle to my business, my work that I'm giving you. So that's really important. And down here is like influencers and PR. So what I can often do is I can give those articles to PDPR, and she can look for hijacking opportunities in the media and go, great, that topic will be really good. I can twig it a little bit, and that can be part of a press release, should you want to get into mainstream media. Does that make sense? So there's really not a lot to do. The main thing is we're creating lots of content so that people find it, self-select. This is all done while you're sleeping, which is great, and then push some leads out your way. Or in my case, I want to convert them end to end without one human interaction other than maybe someone in Manila having to have a conversation. That's it. Hence why my acquisition cost is so low. So, one piece of content, like Monte was saying, video, podcast, article. So video number 1 from Janine was prebiotics versus probiotics. She does the video. This is where Monte puts it on all our channels. Then he turns it into a podcast, and he puts it there, and then he turns it into an article, and that's where it goes. Okay? Then we do that for the other 3 that person did. And then, can you imagine, once you've done that, you've duplicated that again for Emily, and then we're doing that constantly. Can you see how that ecosystem is starting to build? It's quite powerful, and it's taken me 2 hours. Well, it hasn't taken me 2 hours. It's taken Janine an hour and Emily an hour, which is great. So, this is the bit where you get to score yourself. So the other piece of paper there is a ranking system. Now, I know the EOers in the room are going to be honest with themselves because we're brutally honest entrepreneurs, but I want you to work through this and rate yourself 1 to 10. So 1 being really poor, 10 being super great. Nailing it, shouldn't have come this morning. All right, so how does your business score? We consistently create high-quality, original content on a weekly or fortnightly basis. I emphasise original because stock photos, if I see another handshaky picture, they're horrible. So original content, that's high quality, so no selfies, please. So 1 to 10, are you doing that? The opposite is I don't produce quality content consistently due to time restraints or lack of resources. I've hired people for this and I never got the distribution right. Best thing I do is outsource it. I know it's going to get done. Second one, our content is repurposed as audio, video, and articles. The most time-consuming, costly exercise is producing the content. You have to give it legs. All content is distributed thoroughly online in a strategic, frequent manner, not dumped all at once. Next one, qualified professionals are engaged to ensure our content is high quality, produced regularly and on time, either in-house or outsourced. So the guys here at H&T have an in-house video person. It's really important that he keeps to the schedule. So in some cases when people have their own video, because some of my businesses do have internal video, what we do is we produce the content and Monte does the distribution. C2C does the distribution for us, but I tell you, he's on me. If I make that person come and do other tasks and video other things and events and we don't have our videos ready, he'll be on you. So it's important that it's produced regularly because it is a beast. Once you start feeding it and you get onto page 1, it doesn't mean you're going to stay there. You have to keep feeding the beast. Right, our content is narrow in topic and deep in scope. So if any of you have one of those videos that talk about your whole life journey as a business for the last 34 years, that doesn't count. Rank yourself based on, are you producing deep, narrow content? The next one, we don't do hard sell or talk about ourselves, but instead we always educate and add value. 90-10 rule. We have an online content and distribution plan that is completed 6 months in advance, including who does what. Mine's 12 months in advance. And then all I change quarter to quarter is my offers, promos, and collabs in my business. So collabs are, you have 200,000 followers, I have 500,000 followers, we're both in the health sector, but we're not in competition. Why don't I give you some free samples and you can have a gift with purchase. Gift with purchase online is huge, more so than discounting. And then in return, you give me some products and when you buy this, you get this for free this month. And what's great is we're cross-pollinating our databases, which works wonders because they all follow our site and vice versa. So it's double. And lastly, we take advantage of news jacking regularly, utilising the content we have readily available. So I have done this to Monte a few times. I'm like, this has just come up in the press today. I have an opinion on this. We can really counteract this because our business solves this problem. And sometimes I've kind of said, quick, I need you to do a once-off really quickly and distribute it really quickly. And what's great is when that happens, you start getting calls from the media saying, hey, can we interview you on that? Because they research online and they see our response in reaction to what's just happened. So how do we rank? Did anyone get 10 out of 10? Anyone doing higher than 5? Okay, great. You're in the right room. Awesome. Okay, so a few case studies. I won't take too much time on this. So these guys, I met the 2 founders of this and joined. They started a while ago. I think they've been going 2 years, and they got to, in their second year, they got to 1,000 meals. We had no marketing budget, so it was creating an online community, and we saw 750% growth in 5 months with the strategy. A little bit different now. If I was doing that business again now, I would need a paid budget for the pay-per-clicks. But 5 years ago, it was a lot less expensive than what it is now. So that's that one. I put this one in because I think it's really interesting. It's my fake it till you make it. We launched a new brand, which was a vegan hair care, cruelty-free hair care, which isn't just another hair care. It's a rehab. You can actually style your hair without needing any tools. So no irons or no hair dryers, which the women are starting to shake. No. But I think a few of you tried it, so you can vouch for it.
Your hair looks great.
Why, thank you. And I'm usually frizzy. So what's really good about this is the branding was so strong and our social media was so strong and we had really key topics to talk about, like cruelty-free and why vegan, why plant-based hair care, silicone and parabens, why they're bad. What's it actually mean? to be a plant-based and what animal products are in hair care, because most women don't realise what they're putting on their bodies. So we have these conversations online and beautiful branding. Now, in less than 12 months, we got picked up to be in the Oscars gift bags, which got us in a new idea, and then approached by QVC, which is 150 million homes in America, to be on their show. Now, I'm pretty sure they didn't think we were 2 years old at that stage. So perception's really important as well. So it's for generating leads, for all sorts of things, for partnerships. I found the best reps in America approached me and said, can I represent your brand? And they got me into Nordstrom after a year of launching the brand, which is kind of, in the beauty industry, is kind of unheard of. And it was all based on the strength of what it looked like online. Luckily, they couldn't turn up to our office, which was basically our bedroom, and see that it's a very small business. So I think that's, a great example of how social works for you. And these guys, we've all probably drank some geese and wines before. They approached me, 3 German brothers, know nothing about social, know how to make wine. They didn't even have a Facebook page, so it was starting from scratch. But what is great about wine when you research it is that target market, which is your $16 a bottle, is consumed within 2 hours of being purchased. So what do you think the relevance is of staying and remaining top of mind? Pretty important. So social media, whilst they don't sell directly to you, you can now buy the wine online. Their strategy is about when you go into BWS, that's what you're thinking of. So we had so much fun with them. We're getting them, they've got over 300,000 followers now, but their brand exposure is massive, 1.5 million every 3 months. So their sales were pretty impressive after that because they're top of mind. And if you look at Kim Crawford, which is about 10 times the size, that's the #1 Sauv Blanc in America, their engagement beats them, which is quite exciting. So that's also a bit of a de-risking exercise as well, because they do rely on wholesale and your Coles, your Woolworths. It's good to own the conversation with your consumers and have those followers in case something happens there. All right, so this is my favourite slide, because if this is all you remember, it's a good thing. So to get on the front page of Google 3 times doesn't equal 3 clicks, it's 9 times. Now you think about this yourself. When you've Googled something or looked for something, if you've seen it 3 times, you tend to pick that one, don't you? It's just a human behaviour. So for the people who are business, I'm going to show you, this is hot tresses, but so people who has a product. Okay, all right, this is for you too. Google Shopping is fantastic. They're trying to compete with Amazon, so they will that shows up for free. You only pay when you click on it. So Google Shopping is fantastic. So I show up there. I could show up in an ad. I show up in maps for the stockists, reviews, which is what we're talking about, and then in videos. I'm showing up quite a few times. So if you are a services-based business, the equivalent to that would be Google My Business instead of Google Shopping, making sure you're listing and showing up in Google My Business. You might have a paid ad that you have at the top, which is part of your paid strategy. And then, because you're doing all this organic work, your videos and an article or a mention will show up here. So if you can do that, this is what's important. 9 times the click-through. So imagine that amount of activity going into your funnel, which is really exciting. All right, checklist. Probably wanting some more breakfast and some coffee. Please don't set your marketers up to fail. They're very talented, but they can't do everything. So give them the strategy, give them the plan, and give them the resources to make sure that they support you. The second thing is produce regular 90% value add content. I'm going to keep harping on about that. Turn it into video, podcast, article, or blog. Give your content legs. Make sure every piece of content is distributed on at least 6 social platforms, online platforms. Aim to be on page 1 3 times, which isn't that hard when you think about the strategy we just showed you, right? And online is ongoing. This is a constant beast that you have to keep feeding, because you can easily slip from page 1 to page 2 with the other dead bodies. So make sure that that's part of your plan, and I just make Monte do that for me. So, and the other thing that I put down there, because I'm obviously an investor and I think about exits, is it's interesting to see the due diligence process that people are going through when acquiring a company. Brand equity used to be fluffy, but now the amount of followers that you have, the size of your database, the engagement is actually helping you get, you know, people talk about the 10x. That's actually helping people get higher multiples. Because if an acquirer can see an opportunity there to sell more stuff to them, if there's an alliance, if it's a trade sale, these are the sorts of things people are interested in. And I've seen some businesses that, you know, that don't have a revenue. It's not even a multiple of a revenue, but they have these amazing following online, and they're getting ridiculous numbers on exit. So if you are interested in exiting your business, I mean, for the sake of creating a community, I think that's also a good strategy. All right, so this is C2C's plans. So they produce the videos, they take care of everything, which is great. I do the premium for all of mine because I'm in the beauty industry, and it's important for video, but there's podcast options there as well. So that's basically what it costs to outsource your organic part of your strategy, which is, okay, let's see if you remember, how many people click on organic? What's the percentage of the pie? 40%. Very good. Well, that was a trick question because there was 2 pies, right? So call out your one. So that's basically it. And if anyone's got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Did that make sense for this time of the morning? Okay, great. It's actually not that hard, right? I'm not as smart as you thought I was. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Well, you know, I've refined this because I can't be in multiple businesses and scale those if it's dependent on me. So we've basically been working together to go, how do we make this so simple for my business? So this was just something that we did together so that you didn't have to rely on me because I was always on planes. And you needed the content to feed the beast and I wasn't available. So this is actually something we streamlined, and then we thought, why don't we share that with other small businesses so we can all start winning? Because we're actually a lot better at it than the multinationals. They can't do this stuff. They have to go through so many hoops of approvals, and we can just take it all. This is up for us. Yep. So you do GA as well, but I think you should know what 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your services. Everyone's heard the 80-20 rule, right? You really need to pick those 80 and just start on the top things that you do. So for the food company, for instance, our number 1 plan was weight loss, the low carb plan. So obviously the first videos that I should produce should be around that. So how long should I be on the plan? What should I expect as far as outcomes? You know, narrow topics. What liquids do I pair this with? Am I allowed to drink soft drink? No. What about coffee? All that. So you work on that first because I knew that was our number 1 plan. I'm a little bit OCD, so when I launch a brand, I literally want to do all of them at once. So I'll tell Monte, give me 3 of those for the first 3 months so I can get all the content out there really quickly, but I appreciate that that's a big investment. But you would know in your business, right, what your number 1 seller is?
You raise a really good point, so, and I'm not trying to minimize its impact at all. The humble website FAQ page needs to come back because it's the frequently asked questions. And you got the pet thing? Yeah, so I mean, some people are probably asking, if I bring my Moggy in, what are you going to feed him or her? Versus what are you going to feed the dog? Versus what are you going to feed my pet pig? You know, so dietary things I would think would be one. And then the accommodation for cats is different than dogs, and so that would be it. And don't get me wrong, the video can in fact be a view of the accommodation itself. It doesn't have to be a human being. It needs to be narrated so that the information is there. We use a lot of different tools. Ask the Public is one that you can go to. It's a funny guy's face. You put it in, and you've seen Ask the Public? Google Ask the Public and stick something in there. If nothing else, it'll waste half your morning in entertainment. And we use Google Trends as well. We do a lot of things. But Tamara is absolutely correct when she talks about people being too close to their business and being too sophisticated. You know, I had a guy that came to me in my usual quiet American way, and he said, I want to be found on the front page of Google for chiropractor Brisbane. And I said, you're an idiot. He said, why? And I said, let's just check on rotary cuff injury, RSI, tennis elbow. We added up the injuries, and it was over 12 times the amount of people search on that than search on chiropractor. He's the solution provider because that's what he is. Bad idea. Think about it from the way that the person that has the problem is going to search.
Do you have salespeople? Yeah, I'd ask them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're on the front line every day dealing with those questions. So.
And again, beauty and brilliance. Ask whoever answers the phone or the receptionist, because they get asked the question. Has anybody ever rung up your company and asked for the CEO's CV? No. What do they ask for? Oh, do you ship to Darwin? Are you insured? Blah, blah, blah. Those are the questions that people want answered, not the vision, goals, and mission statement of the CEO. Nobody asked for that.
On to him.
Google took out the mission statement, I was just talking about this, of do no evil back in May. That's no longer part of Google's mission statement. They've just had a new general manager appointed here in Sydney. They've lost the last two in 2 years. One went to Mortgage Choice, one went to Domain. If you notice, they keep giving me, in my AdWords world, ways to make the ads bigger and bigger, which is pushing the organic down the page. If it's on a mobile device, you can't even see it. They're not a nice company. They're automating the way you can set up AdWords to put people like me, who are value-added resellers, out of the business, but that's because they're trying to counter Facebook. But the day even Mark Zuckerberg realized when he stuffed too many ads in the Facebook feed, he went, ooh, got to stop that because I'm pissing off my client base. Of course, what he did is he increased the cost of the ads for those that are left.
Supply and demand.
Google needs to do the same thing. The day that organic results disappear completely and nobody trusts them to provide the answers to their questions, because it is an answer engine, they're in trouble. Useful stats, because I'm a geek. 50% of people that search on Google never click on anything. Because it's, what's the weather in Sydney? What's the time in New York? They're just asking for an answer, and Google gives you the answer. For a lot of small businesses, they're going to be launching a new product. It's already in America now. It'll be here by the end of the year, where they'll just build you an ad campaign with keywords, landing pages, and a website, all as part of Google My Business, because they think their solution's better than whatever your web developer does. And Google's arrogant. It's their way or the highway, and they know better. But the day they jeopardize the trust, which is a classic of what Facebook did, they're in trouble.
There's always a place for organic.
There's a place for organic.
The thing is that you've gone up against Google. You had like a competition with them or something?
Yeah, I went up against their machine learning 3 times. Won twice by 50%, lost once by 15%. It's not as good as you think. Great for playing Go and chess, but not for human behavior. The other thing is you understand what we're doing with this distribution strategy, which is what I learned from Tamara, which is it's those other platforms. Right? So if your content is on Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, TuneIn, people are going to find it there. Our intention of them finding it there is to bring them back to the mothership. What's the mothership? That's your website. So I don't want to have to, yes, I want to influence Google's algorithm so that if you're doing a Google search, your content comes up. But I'm just as happy if you're watching a video of hot tresses on Instagram or on Pinterest or something, you go right to the hot tresses site and buy. Skip Google. So I'm hedging my bet. I'm ex-military, so I call it carpet bombing. Just everywhere on the internet. And that's because I don't want to be held hostage to Google. If I don't show up there, I want all these other channels to feed the funnel. And as long as I follow fluff and have value, not sales, I know it'll work in the long term.
Well, I'll challenge you on that one, because even if they're a one-man band, they're the expert. So you've already got one expert for starters. So they can produce their own content. Yes, you need a budget to do this sort of stuff, but you can outsource that. And I would argue that that's actually a better solution for a small business than hiring a marketing grad. Because what I found with marketing grads, they come in and they end up doing all this other stuff that isn't actually focused on social media. We just seem to keep them busy doing other things. I don't know why we do that. So if you value it, I think outsource it. So I have in-house marketing teams and I still outsource this. So because it's actually cheaper, because Monte owns part of a BPO in Manila, so he's taught them when to post, and so that's costing a lot less than if I was to get my marketing person at whatever her rate is. And I don't know if you've looked lately, but marketing grads are getting exorbitant amounts of money. And they're grads. Like, how much did you learn in uni? So what's interesting is their hourly rate versus what he does with it. The only time I waste my staff's time is when they've got a camera in their face and they talk about a topic. So if you were a small business, then you can start producing content. You could distribute it yourself if you've got time. But I mean, I think it's better to outsource that. But you can produce your own content. You can follow that strategy fairly easily, I think. And that's what's great. Before it was television, billboards. It was completely out of our reach. At least now I think the small business, I mean, we're the backbone of the economy. And this is our tool. This is our hidden, I'm stealing your clients while your TV ad is on strategy for small business. So when I didn't have a budget, we were doing it internally, editing it ourselves, doing everything, because we just couldn't afford it. But I always outsource the distribution because I can't compete with our hourly rate for Australians to do it. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Any more questions? Yeah. Sorry.
Just a quick one on live chat.
Yep.
I agree. I think we run 12-hour call centre.
Oh, great.
But then a lot of our bookings now, we've got an e-commerce website coming through at 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
right.
right.
Questions we use.
See, sweet spot, 8, 9 o'clock at night. You know when food was? 11.
So
You've just eaten something bad really last minute.
Yeah. So we use Intercom, so that helps some of that.
Great.
Video content, so it does help some of that. But,
Web chat's good too.
But looking at the live chat thing, so the question is, if you outsource it overseas, which makes sense because you can't afford to do it, really have someone online all the time.
Only for the distribution. Please don't get them to write your articles.
No. So the challenge you have is also with live chat is when you start getting the volume, we get quite a lot of volume, is if you don't manage it properly, it becomes a negative and you lose.
Yes,
lose
very true.
So
I love live.
The question is if we look at that when we're not resourcing ourselves, how do you select or look at a third-party supplier to do that in another country?
You don't for live. You can't. Live is live. You're there at the spot. All my live things go to my millennials. You just need to trust your team to do the right thing and give them some basic guidelines. So no swearing until after 10 o'clock at night. And if you're global business, then no swearing at all because you're on different time zones. But, you know, I have a flexible workplace, so I'll let them do activities and participate in fun runs or whatever it is. And my condition for the flexibility is that they do a live shout out while they're there, and they love it. I don't do live myself. I find it quite petrifying, but then I go on in front of 150 million people and do live television in the States. But live is, I mean, it doesn't stay up that long. And you've got to remember your audience too. So the younger generation are now into Snapchat. That's their thing. So.
Are you old and grey enough to remember the movie The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman? What was the word that they told Dustin Hoffman? Plastics. The word I would say to you, and I monitor this stuff because I'm a geek, is chatbots. Where we're going on this is somebody, rather than have that live chat to somebody in Angeles City or Manila who's talking with them, at some point it's going to be a chatbot. And the chatbot's going to say, I see you're on this page. Are you interested in the hot tresses conditioner? Yes, I am. And then it's going to say, what kind of hair do you have? Long or short? And this is all programmed, and it's free programming. You can do it yourself if you want to.
At least you drive it.
And then it goes all the way down until it gets to the point where it says, damn, can't answer that anymore, but I do have your email address, your name, your messenger, LinkedIn, all the privacy things that you didn't think you gave away. And then it's like, we'll get back to you. And so at least it engages them at the time and takes them through a process. So I suspect you're going to find most websites will have chatbots in them by 2020.
And I have a playbook that's about this thick. So no one in Manila is allowed to have a conversation that's off script. So they literally, if they don't have an answer, because once someone said, I want to look like Arnie. And they said, who's Arnie? You know, I I train them and give them a playbook. And you know, I just started with one, and they were part-time working from 7 till 11 because I knew my sign-up time was high then. And that doesn't cost very much money versus overtime. So if you just pick your sweet spot, you can buy them by the hour, just give them the playbook. And the playbook is just based on all the things that you say and do during the day. So what I did was I actually got one of my team to go through all my social media conversations for the last 6 months and write the playbook from that. Every dumb question, it's all in there, including how do I look like Arnie? It's all in there, and if they can't answer it, they go, actually, I don't know that one, but we have a specialist who, you know, they know our team, so they call them by name. They'll be in at 9 o'clock in the morning. What's your number? I'm going to get them to give you a call. So what was good is a lot of people who wanted the consults, when my telemarketer come in the morning, he had a list of 30 or 40 people to call from overnight. So if anything, that's a reason to do it as well. But they're willing to wait because they've invested some time with you. So there's a bit of a relationship there that they'll wait until 9 o'clock the next morning. Does that help? I'm sorry, you are not going to convert a client unless they meet you. You have to do that. I think for something like recruitment, you need to stop thinking territory. So I am from this area, so therefore I must sell to these people. With Zoom and all the things that are available now, you can interview and get clients from all over the place, and you can recruit from all over the place as well. So that would be my only thing is don't just think in your territory. But territory is not a bad thing for setting up the systems and the processes and getting it right, and then you can do expansion. So a friend of mine owns What's Next, which is a HR company. She is globally known because she does this strategy, and she's been doing it for 3 years. And she's won blog awards, HR globally. She now travels around the world as a HR speaking expert. She's on the morning show as the go-to person. Like, it is insane. 40% of her business comes via social now, 40%. And she's a fee-for-service. She's got one office in Brisbane. She had offices in Sydney and Melbourne and did the old school knock on doors, try to start them up. She shut them down and she went with the social media, and now people, how often do you see my suppliers? Like, I'm happy to jump on a plane and go see someone if they're the right expert. I don't want to be restricted by my area. I'm from Brisbane and I'm in YPO Sydney because the quality of the members is worth me going on a plane. So maybe think more from that point of view. You know, how can you build it out so that you're an expert? She's a great example. So look up What's Next. She's nailing it, and globally she's now respected. It's great. And she's a team of, I think, 15. So cool.
Word of mouth rocks, just without a doubt. And it craps all over Google AdWords and anything else. But as Tamara said earlier, reviews are a very big thing because your first impression is often an online impression. So that's where you've got to make that first impression to get to the point where you can do the face-to-face. And then once you've done the face-to-face, you can maintain the relationship with Zoom or Skype, but you won't build it in the first instance with that. But they will do due diligence on you first. So that online first impression is important. And by the way, Watts as in What's Next is W-A-T-T-S, next, not W-H-A-T.
It's your team. That's the rule, number one rule. So it's them. That's actually, I totally agree with you there. I can tell if it's written from somebody in India.
So your hot presses articles are written by...
Well, they're written based on the interview. So I'm not a very good writer. So all they're doing is they're writing an article based on what I've said in that interview. Does that make sense? So it's not a new article on a new topic. It always starts with you telling the story first, your people, and then the article gets written off that. And they don't go off on tangents and start talking about other things. They're not allowed to. We're very strict on that. If it's not said in that video, do not elaborate. Yep.
And Murdoch and News, love them both. They've sacked all the journalists. I can buy good quality journalists here in Australia for $20 an hour.
So that's done here.
And they can do lots of really good writing. And so when I take a Tamara video where she's talked in depth about a conditioner or whatever it is that you put on, I don't have any hair, but it's then listened to by the journalist who then writes that into a story. It's not a transcript of the Q&A, it's an actual story in the first person. She goes back to Tamara and she goes, will you put your name on this? She goes, hell yes. You know, the grammar and the spelling and everything is correct.
So
you
that's
cannot
done locally.
outsource content creation. If you do, it's death.
So we don't get the articles written offshore. The only thing that's done offshore is the actual distribution and the channel management. That's it. Nothing like the writing is here, and thankfully we can get that quite costly, affordable because of the amount of journalists that are out of business.
We get a copy of that.
We can send everyone the slides if you like.
Yeah,
Would that be helpful?
And we actually set up for all of our clients a Google Doc. I mean, we put everything in the cloud. So in the cloud is all the topics, time of year, the distribution channels, and then our team puts in when it was posted on Pinterest and LinkedIn and Facebook and you've got to put in hashtags and all sorts of stuff. And that's all in a Google Doc. And so you've got access to it 24/7 as well as I do. And so everybody's collaborating on this one document that's it's the mothership and everything around the mothership. And then the carpet bombing.
And then I just post as I want to around the stuff that they're doing, but it's not a necessity because I know that my BAMs, my bare ass minimums are being met by this strategy, and I'll do a live or we'll do stuff in and around what's being posted by those guys. Does that make sense? Great. Yeah, all channels, definitely. If your target market is here, don't do things for the sake of it. If your target market is just WeChat, just do WeChat. But I was a little early this morning because I have technology phobia. I wanted to make sure it was all fine. So I spent some time with the guys, and the first thing is your ratings are terrible on Google. It's 2.7 or something. You have to be over 4. So I said, pay people to make that go away. So get that done. So that needs to be fixed. And the second thing is that your content is divine, and it must be costing a fortune for all those in-house resources, but then there's no paid. So your following is not great. So your content is worthy of 500,000 followers, and I think you've got about 7,000 followers or something. So that was the disconnect for me. So you're doing all the right things, fantastic. More channels, yes, but we need to get the number of followers up, I think. So perhaps spending less on the internal resources and a little bit more on the paid. As a business owner, that would be my strategy because I feel like you're too heavily weighted in resources and creating beautiful content that no one's seeing. Okay? And then give it some legs in internal. If you've got, I think he's mentioned he's got quite a healthy database. So start distributing some of that content through EDMs and WeChat and stuff that start a community. So yeah, I had a little look this morning, but I can take that offline with you. I mean, you guys have been so generous to have me. I'm happy to do a session with your team if you like, on Zoom or something. Yeah, pleasure. I think that's it. Thank you. Have some breakfast. Thank you.